Hey there, it's Pete Martin, founder and CEO of Ask My Board and the co-creator of the 8-Figure Exits program. So let's talk about Warren Buffett. So would Warren Buffett be interested in your company? Let me tell you, one of the most important things to Warren Buffett, and the reason he's one of the most successful investors ever in the history of business, is one dimension or one factor he looks at for every single company's investment that he looks to buy or invest in. And that is, do they have a competitive moat of some sort? And he defines competitive moat by what is their ability to have premium pricing in their particular market? What is unique about them that is very difficult for a competitor to compete with and compete on them in that particular dimension? And the way that he looks for the evidence is their net margins and their gross margins. So if that company has higher gross margins and net margins than the rest of the industry, he knows then that they have some kind of market positioning and competitive mode in their business that affords them to be able to have better profitability than their competitors. So what we want to focus on in this particular tip is this concept of monopoly control, what we call it, or what we also call power positioning. So how are you differentiated in the minds of your customers versus your competitors? And I can tell you, this is another thing with every founder, CEO, and entrepreneur we work with, that this is a struggle to come up with something that is truly unique and differentiated in the marketplace that affords them premium pricing, so that if you're particularly in the B2B space, or really in any space, that you're not constantly being asked to discount your product and your services versus your competitors. So what we'd like you to do is go through this particular exercise, and I'm going to share my screen here. And again, this is the output of a client that we work with in this 8-Figure Exits Bootcamp tool that we have for value building. And what I did was having a little fun here and talking about the differentiation of, well, I won't even tell you what the beer is. You could probably figure it out. So less filling, tastes great, cheap, and readily available. So what you want to look at is, what are the attributes or the product characteristics that you define your product or service by? What is it that you're selling, the benefits that you're selling to a particular customer, and how that then compares to your competition? So in this tool, we're going to take just a random list of all the products and attributes of our particular product, in this case, light beer. And then we're going to evaluate the degree for which it makes us different than our competitors. So let's see, there's other light beers out there. We don't really care. They all taste pretty good. We're cheap, but really our strategic advantage is we're everywhere. You can find our beer pretty much everywhere. And so within the context of what's different for us, we want to evaluate. I would highly ask you to do this with your team, is really to think about what are the differentiating factors of us versus our competitors. Then what you're going to look at is take those same dimensions of product attributes, product or service attributes, and evaluate and rank how important those attributes are to your customers. Now, best case scenario is you don't do this internally. You ask your customers, and you can ask them a very simple question. And that question is, why did you buy from us? What made us stand out versus the other alternatives? And what else were you looking at? Who else were you talking to? If you just ask that question to, let's just say, half a dozen to a dozen of your best customers, they're going to tell you exactly why they picked you over your competitors. You may know it. It's rarely price. Sometimes it's price, but it's rarely price. And so this is a great exercise to get a market validation about what your differentiation is. And so you want to first internally decide how you think you're differentiated against your competitors. Then you're going to ask your customers, preferably directly, what is most important to them in terms of the differentiation. And then based on those two factors, it's going to create a power positioning chart about the things that you should be focusing on that are more strategic from a sales and marketing perspective than maybe some other factors. And so you're going to look at then, you're going to plot this at level of differentiation over the degree to which customers care. So customers care about maybe less filling, tastes great, that it's cheap, but it's not differentiated. What's most differentiated is that it's readily available. Unfortunately, in this case, the way I just picked it, it's not super important to customers. So what you're going to really focus on then is what's up here that is differentiated from your competition and important to customers. And so what came out of this exercise is less filling is actually the most important attribute. And so if you look at when Bud Light hit the market, this is what they focus on. So this is kind of old news now, but they did an exercise similar to this to figure out what's important to customers and how are they different from all the other beer that's on the market. And less filling was the number one. And that's what they focused on from their sales and marketing perspective. So I hope you found this useful. Please take the time to really go through this exercise. It's really, really powerful for every product and service you have, or the major revenue drivers of your business. And again, what you want to focus on is list those product or service attributes that you believe are different or, the same or different than your competition. And you're going to rank them in order of how differentiated from your competitors are they. Then you're going to look at the dimension of, from your customer's perspective, how important is that particular attribute of the product? And then based on the intersection of these two things, that's going to give you the very specific set of differentiation that you should focus all of your sales and marketing on. And if you do this in a very sophisticated, strategic way, you will drive higher margins. You will have less discounting because you're focused on the stuff that is different from your competitors, that's important to your customers. Hope you found this useful. We'll see you on the next tip.